Did you expect this? I doubt it. One series that I've always really loved that I highly recommend that I think was taken too early for its honest quality is Toriko. And from that series came, I think, one of the craziest powerhouses that had a surprise to them as this theme surprise powerhouses in Shonen. Because this character, Jirou, when he showed up, the first panel really you get of him as seen at the start of the video, he's just some like shaking drunk old man. He's tiny. He looks like he can barely stand up. And then when you find them later, the next portion, he's this jacked behemoth who's just been drinking and completely running through everything that the characters, the main characters at the time were struggling to get through. And he actually turned out to be one of the most powerful people on the planet in the top three, excluding obviously the final boss and like Dawn Slime and stuff. But, for humans, it was his older brother Ichiru and his younger brother Midora. Now, Jirou, I think, was really cool because he introduced really this kind of like, well, not fully introduced, but he was the master of. He was really the guy for it, of this kind of style in Toriko called knocking. Essentially, you're using, different either items to hit like pressure points in specific areas of creatures to knock them either like unconscious or paralyze them. But Jirou, even though he had tools, he really didn't need them because his own body was a weapon. As you can see this one, his grand knocking, where he pretty much hits the planet in the right way that it actually slows down the rotation of the Earth to a near standstill. And the Toriko Earth is actually, I think they actually gave an estimation of it's like 659 times the size of our real planet, because their planet used to be ours, and then they got hit by this this meteor that pretty much like absorbs energy and like calories and whatnot and grows. It's like a living rock, and throughout time made the planet like super big. Now Jirou not only has a really fun aspect to him, like he has the, his own pretty much style of martial art, because he's pretty much the only character that really uses knocking like as a frequent level, and it's just pretty much all he runs through. Like, there are characters that know knocking, but he didn't earn the title Knocking Master Jirou for nothing. He's an absolute behemoth. Like, there's actually a part, I won't go too much into spoilers, because even though I want to talk about it, I also want people to check this series out, because if you haven't yet, and you're like, man, I really just want to read a series that's just like badass action, and in my personal take, and I think it has the best world building in shonen. You can tell reading it how much the author like puts time in just developing the land and monsters and places they're going to, like just the environment in general, making like tons of crazy maps and layouts, just so you're getting the feel of just the zone itself. The characters themselves are very fun, but you can tell like he puts so much more effort into just the large scope of where they are. So the world itself is its own story and its own adventure, not just the characters, which I really loved about it, but also like just because the fun, crazy action and the monsters. But funny enough, Jirou actually is one of the biggest monsters around. He is a dude who, like I said, can hit the planet to make it stop, and then like just that quick moment of slowdown and then restart actually like causes natural disasters like giant tsunamis, hurricanes, storms, and all sorts of crazy things. And he one of his other attacks, like it's like one of his normal moves, because grand knocking, even though it sounds really impressive, it's not that big of a deal to him. Like, he has one called Big Bang, where he pretty much uppercuts somebody into space. Like, he's just like, bye, smacks him, gone, you're in orbit, you're gonna die. Sorry. He's just such a fun dude, and there's a lot of tie-ins not only to him just being very powerful. Like I said, he has this spot between him and the other characters, because he's the middleman, whereas like Midora, his younger brother, is one of the main antagonists, and his older brother Ichiru he's a pretty big deal. He's one of like the leading characters in the world. Like I said, he's the strongest man, but he's also the guy leading the IGO. Whereas Jiro's always been kind of more like a free spirit. Also, this is a dude who, from his age, he was drunk for 500 straight years. Like, he wasn't just like, I like to drink. He's like, drinking is a lifestyle, and I will only live that lifestyle. Could you just imagine that? Because one of the characters is this dude Tepe is actually his grandson. And keep this in mind, this dude has known his grandfather his entire life as just being shit-faced hammered since birth. Just keep that. It's not like, oh man, every time I see him it's drunk. It's like, no, I only know him drunk. I only know him in this inebriated state where he has absolutely zero chill. He's just a fun guy, and there's nothing to him other than that. And then you see him after really just kind of like in your mind, he's this big kind of funny drunk guy, and then you see him in battle and you see how crazy he is. Like, there's one part I will tell you is in the series itself, there's this place called there's where the humans generally live, the mass population, called the human world, and they call it the human world because, that's where in their mind humans can really only live, because outside of it, the other 70% of the planet they call the gourmet world, because that's where all the gourmet super ingredients are, because it's all about hunting giant monsters and whatnot. And the main character at one point tries to go out there, way ahead of where he should be. Like, he's not geared at all. Like, you get at it and it's like, man, sweet, he's gonna do it, and he gets completely demolished. The only reason he lives is because Jirou finds him. I mean, I guess I can imagine it'd be like playing a video game, like an MMORPG, and like, I'm just like going off of personal experience. It'd be like I remember like World of Warcraft, like low level if you're new to the game. Or like RuneScape or something, like that, and you somehow end up in a zone that's like way beyond like what you're capable of, and then you're gonna it's like, well, I don't know how to get back, so I'm either gonna hide or die. But you don't have that thing of like, oh, it's a video game. It's like, no, Toriko would have died in this scenario if Jirou didn't come across him, and like all these crazy monsters that were, unfathomable at that time by the main character. Jirou would just look at, and they'd just be like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I don't want to mess with that guy, because he also just gives off this beastly, or like, look at this dude, look at this badass, like he's got a sick beard, a mullet, and a pompadour, all while this like jacked, like flexing behemoth, and he's such a multi-sided dude at the same time, because you get that, like it's here, the funny old dude, you get the badass dude, you get all this like surprises, he's showing up, giving advice, helping out while flexing his drinking capacity. But then you also get like some moments, again, I don't want to go too much into spoilers because I do want you to read this, like when he's hanging out with his grandson and talking to him, and parts when he worries about him, and it does give him like that kind of feeling of vulnerability. Like, obviously he's super powerful, but like keep in his mind, like, he still loves his grandson, and knowing like what it would be like for him to die, because that's going to be even weirder, because he's centuries old, and keep it like, imagine like living that long and being like, you got a grandson, you got your young lad you can probably teach one day, and then in his like mid-20s, like, he dies, and you're like, shit, I've gone through all this and I didn't even protect him. There's some rough times for him. Here's some stuff I want to go over a little bit. I mean, I won't go into spoilers, but if you've read Toriko, you know what I mean. Just like Jirou's origin story, and like some of the panels with him, like that one that you saw where he's like all skinny and he's got like an elongated pompadour. I will say that the reason that is because his knocking power, he actually has his own full power sealed. Like, it's pretty much like needle was it acupuncture? Is it? Yeah. I was gonna say acupressure, didn't sound right, but acupuncture, where it's pretty much hitting, it's all jammed in a certain points of his body to limit him. Because whereas Midora is easy, he's very powerful, but he's easy contained because he's he's super hungry all the time. He's not as active because you just give him food and whatnot. Ichiru, he's much more much more relaxed and controlled. He's a much more like happy guy. I think if you met him, he'd be the one. If it wasn't for the fact he's like. Actually, he's the smallest out of the three, but he's the most powerful. If it wasn't for the fact he's, still pretty big, buff, like 6'1" dude, you'd think he wasn't that strong, because he doesn't give off that kind of personality, whereas Jirou does. Jirou just has this kind of like, don't make me flex on you aspect to him. And you get that a lot throughout the series. There's a lot of points where he's just like, hey, do you really want to do this fight? And then people just be like, no, I don't want to do this. Sorry, I'm out of here. And Jirou just, you can tell he likes that aura around him, while at the same time, I think he means the best out of all of them, that kind of like much more not as directed. Ichiru has that most pure soul, but I feel like Jirou just, wandering around doing things while still trying to have a good life and, just not get too caught up in all the shenanigans while still somehow getting caught up in all the shenanigans because he knows his status. Just added to his character. I love the dude. All three of them, Midori, Ichiru, and Jirou, were all just three, like, solid trio. I don't know why I said three solid trio. A solid trio of just great brotherly characters that I'll forever miss, and I wish Toriko was still going, just so I could have, even though we would get them at some points, just the characters to be like, do you remember that guy? That guy was fucking crazy. You can't get characters like this without having, like, a crazy idea in mind. You're not just gonna, like, into a series where you just have a dude like this at random. There has to be this kind of mindset of, I have to make a dude this wild. Like, look at him. He's just, like, jabbing up people while flaunting his stuff and just having an absolute time of it. I'll always love Toriko. I need that author to make a new series. But other than that, it wasn't as long as some of the other ones. This is only like, what, 11 and a half minutes? Because I don't want to go too much into spoilers. I did want to talk about aspects about him. Like, you first find out about him, like when I say surprise powerhouse. He's probably the biggest surprise powerhouse. Because, like, looking at someone like Mirror Jane, we knew Mirror Jane had a level of a past. We didn't know how strong she was. But, her being pretty strong was still, like, believable. But with Charmy, we knew Charmy was in the Black Bulls. We knew she had to be somewhat strong to make the cut. But with Jirou, when we first got him, he was just this seemingly barely functioning old drunk. And then, like, every single time he shows up after that, he just gives off more of a flex. He's constantly just like, yeah, remember that last thing I did? You thought that was impressive? Hold my goddamn beer. Actually, no, don't hold my beer. Let me drink it. Go get me another one, and then I'll do this. Actually, get me a six-pack. And just, he is just an absolute delight of a dude. Legitimately, if you read Toriko, he's one of those characters you can't not like. And I don't give characters that kind of, like, level lightly. Like, there's always that character in a series who just everyone seems to really like. Obviously, someone like Gildarts, Yami, All Might. Jirou is one of them. Ichiru and Midora, I can see some people not being too fond of them for certain aspects in the series, but Jirou is just an all-around, he's just a guy's guy. You can't read his story and just be like, I don't like this guy. I don't know if I like this super badass old drunk grandpa. I don't know if I want to see him around. No, it's, goddamn, that was cool. How many chapters until I get to see him do something awesome again? And then you realize afterwards when you see him in Teppei, like, God damn it, I gotta call my grandpa. Let me see if he could punch the planet and almost stop it and hit people into space. Shimabukuro, please. Another series like this. I just want more absurdly wild action series with your crazy world building and character designs. Other than that, comment below and tell me what you think. Have you ever checked into Toriko? I know there's a lot of people that looked into it from the anime and were turned away. The anime, don't go with the anime. The anime is so censored and cuts out so much stuff. Don't bother with it. Read the manga, especially the beautiful HD ones when you can really get the dude's art. Because he's also got this level of ferocity, and even look at this one. Like this Devil Serpent looks kind of silly, but at the same time, it gives off such an intimidating aura. Even in those early chapters, it just makes up for it. But like I said, comment below. Tell me, are you interested in Toriko? If you've read Toriko, tell me how much you love Jirou. He was just an absolute wild ride every single time the dude stepped on the panel. And other than that, I'd really appreciate you thumbs up the video, from the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank y'all for listening. Bye.